What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Comic Book Flashback Ultimate Spider-Man. Today we are looking at issue number 33, and today's title is Origins. And what a sick, awesome looking cover we got today. Venom is on the cover. It's the first time we're seeing Venom, but we're not going to see Venom in this issue. Unfortunately, we're just going to be looking at a little bit of an origin story here. And so that's what we have here. The title, this is Origins. So let's go ahead now and dive on in. Previously, in Ultimate Spider-Man, Police Captain Stacy is killed while in pursuit of a burglar who went on a crime spree posing as Spider-Man, leaving his daughter Gwen Stacy orphaned while staying at the Parkers. Aunt May takes pity on the young woman and invites her to live with the Parkers permanently. After finally defeating the burglar who was posing as Spider-Man, Peter is shocked to find out that Mary Jane Watson, his girlfriend and sole confidant, can't handle the pressure of being Spider-Man's girlfriend and breaks up with him. And man, that was heartbreaking to see as I looked at the comments from the last video. Man, I mean, I'm right with y'all. I really wanted them to stick it out, but unfortunately, that's not going to be the case. So before we get started, let's go ahead and give credit. Here we got Brian Michael Bendis on the story, Mark Bagley on the penciling, Art Thibert and Rodney Ramos on the inking. We have Chris Elapoulos on the lettering page, C.B. Cebulski, Associate Editor, Brian Smith, Associate Editor, Ralph Macchio, Editor, Joe Quesada, Editor-in-Chief, and Bill Moss, President and Inspiration. And so we start out the issue off, and Peter Parker is in his basement, and he's just really thinking about the breakup he had just witnessed and experienced. He's heartbroken right now as Mary Jane Watson basically dumped him, as we see. She dumped me. And he's just lying on the ground here. His Spider-Man suit's laying on the chair and everything, and he just can't believe it. He just cannot believe what's going on. And he says, I just can't believe I screwed this up too. I have officially screwed up every single part of my life on every conceivable level. I'm screwing up at school. I'm screwing up at home. I failed Harry. I failed Uncle Ben. The entire world hates me because some idiot was running around robbing banks dressed as me. And we see that the real Spider-Man, Peter Parker, beat the ever-loving crap out of that guy last issue. We still don't even know the identity of that guy and how he got his powers. But we'll maybe find that out some other time. And so Peter Parker is dwelling on, maybe I need to call MJ just to check on her. I want to hear her voice. But then he's like, oh crap, I can't do that because she'll star 69 me like she did Kong that time. So he gets frustrated, throws the phone here, and the phone just smashes to pieces here as he threw it too hard. Now he doesn't have a phone and he feels like a loser. And so while he's going to pick up the pieces of the phone and he's moving the boxes around, he comes across this hidden door that he's not seen before. He opens it, and it just so happens to be a lot of boxes with the name Parker on it. He opens up the box and it has these VHS tapes in it and a bunch of different books and pictures. So he starts rifling through the pictures and he just so happens to see some childhood photos of himself with his dad and his mom. And he's like, I can't believe this. And he sees that his dad was working with someone that he doesn't really recognize here. And so wonder who Peter's dad has been working with. Which family has he been working with? So he's going to sneak off and try to look at this tape. Aunt May and Gwen Stacy are baking cookies, and Aunt May's telling Gwen Stacy about her time that she met Jimi Hendrix in person. And she basically said, Jimi Hendrix, will you marry me? And Jimmy points his guitar right at her. And then Aunt May sees that Peter Parker is walking off. She says, hey, we're making cookies. You want to help? And he's like, no thanks. Gwen and Aunt May know that Mary Jane and Peter Parker broke up. And it's basically, the word has spread throughout the entire school. The school knows about this. Aunt May is going to go try to console Peter He puts in the VHS tape, pushes the play button, and he starts to see something he hasn't witnessed in so very long. Peter has to be at least, maybe 6 years old at this point, and he notices that someone hit him with a frisbee. It just so happens to be this guy, and it just so happens to be Eddie Brock. So Eddie Brock is a few years older than Peter in this video. We see that Peter's mom comes to console Peter here. And so it looks like within this tape, Peter is basically very little. He's with his mom and dad, but he's not alone. We see that Aunt May and Uncle Ben are in with the picnic here. They're very young. Also, we see Aunt May's sister here. We see also Peter's dad and mom here. But they're not alone as well. Eddie Brock has his mom and dad there as well. So the Brocks and the Parkers have been lifelong friends for a long time. And Peter's just finding this stuff out here. So Peter's telling his mom about how he wrote a report about these different variations of penguins. There's like 15 different kinds of penguins and stuff. And he's just a little kid. And we find out that Peter's dad is partners with Eddie Brock's dad. And Eddie Brock's dad is Eddie Brock Sr. And then Eddie Brock is Eddie Brock Jr. And so they are basically these scientists. They work together, and they've been working on some kind of experiment, something that has to do with Venom, the Venom symbiote suit that we'll soon find out at the end of this issue. And so as Peter and Aunt May are continuing to watch this video, the video stops all abruptly here, and Aunt May and Peter are just stunned here to see this time capsule, basically. He said, "Where did you find this?" He said, "I found it in a closet downstairs in the basement." And she says, "Well, it's yours now. Ben and I put it all away for you for when you were old enough. I guess you're old enough now." And he's like, "Who were those people?" And she said, "They were the Brocks. You remember? Ed Brock was your dad's partner." And then he's like, "Well, what happened to them?" And she says, basically, the Eddie Brock's parents died in a plane crash along with your parents as well. They died in the same plane crash. And so Peter and Eddie Brock have a lot in common. And so Peter's like, maybe I need to look up Eddie Brock and find out where he's been. It's been years since I've seen him. So he gets on internet white pages and he finds out that he's basically, Eddie Brock is at 44 Tony Stark Building, Empire State University. So Eddie Brock is in college. And so he gets Eddie Brock's number and calls Eddie. And he's like, "Oh my gosh, Peter, I haven't seen you in ages. How have you been?" And so as Peter and Eddie Brock talk on the phone and catching up with each other, we see that as they continue to talk, there's something in these boxes that is very, very disturbing here. Something that catches our attention. As we look, there is an envelope with the name Venom Project. So, So what's going to happen? We're going to have to figure all this out as the issue unrolls and the story unrolls. So Peter is going to meet with Eddie Brock at ESU. They haven't seen each other in ages. He goes by Eddie Brock's dorm here, and basically he's living in a mess here with his roommate. He said, "Let's go get coffee." So they go get coffee here, and they start catching up with each other. We learn that Eddie Brock is in a bioengineering program, and he's a science major. And that's what Peter Parker wants to do as well, the same exact major, in fact. And so it looks like Peter Parker and Eddie Brock have a lot in common with each other. And they start talking about their parents, and Eddie's basically saying, "It's been so long since I've seen my mom and dad, I just can't even picture them." And then they start also talking about Peter's love life here. Basically, Peter admits that he used to have a girlfriend. And Eddie Brock says, "Look, if I miss high school as well, and I've dated a lot of chicks, but within 5 years, you won't even remember her name. I swear to goodness. And so, see, Eddie Brock is giving some advice to Peter Parker here. And so, as the conversation continues to roll on, Peter Parker unzips his backpack and says, "Look, I have a VHS tape, basically, and I wanted to give it to you. It's a copy of your parents, basically. They're on the film, and I just wanted to give it to you. This is the reason why I wanted to meet up with you, so you can remember your parents." And he said, "Wow, that's the nicest thing you've ever done for me." And he said, "Hey, you know what? I have something to show you as well." So we see that Eddie Brock goes to Reed Richards Science Center, and he uses this passcode. I don't even know how he has access to this. And Peter Parker basically is like, "Oh yeah, this is so cool. This is not high school at all." And we see Eddie Brock says, "But that's not what I wanted to show you. This is what I wanted to show you. This is something." He opens this case here with the name Brock on it. A bunch of steam comes out, and Peter's like, "What is that?" And then Eddie Brock says, "It's our inheritance." And it's basically a glass beaker with basically black liquid here. And I wonder exactly what exactly is that black substance within that beaker. We're going to have to find this out as we look at issue number 34. So we'll be looking forward to some more Venom. Maybe we'll be seeing the first appearance of Venom soon. But go ahead, give this video a like. Comment down below what you liked about this issue. Subscribe if you have not. And keep reading comics.